Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this unusual Sunday live, shall we say. Miss P is sitting on the sofa, relaxing for a change, monitoring the comments. I'm sure she'll be commenting at this very minute. I hope you're all well and safe, and I suppose we need to start. What I intend doing today is looking at colour and the basics of the colour wheel. It isn't just for artists. I know a lot of people are probably sitting there thinking, well, I don't need to know that, it's just for artists. But the colour wheel is important in a lot of things, whether you're decorating your room, buying a new outfit, going to the hairdressers, or painting or junk journaling. So it's worth knowing the basics, I feel, and that's what I decided to show you. So the first thing we need to do is create a colour wheel. So rather than start off with the art, we're going to start off with a bit of physics. So first thing we need to do is draw a circle that we can turn into the colour wheel. So I've got a nice large bowl, so we'll do a nice large colour wheel so we can all see. Pencil. And I'm just going to draw a nice large circle in the middle of the paper.
Noella says looking pretty, I think. I don't know what she's referring to.
Well, me, of course.
Oh, well, you're looking pretty.
Looking pretty. There we go. Look, that's a wheel. No problem. We're off to a good start. Now this
Noella wants to know if it's a Tupperware bowl.
Tupperware? No, I don't believe that it is. Let me have a quick check, just for the sake of completeness. No, I don't believe it is. It's a melamine bowl, sort of thing you take on your picnics. Sort of a hard plastic. Sort of one of the original plastics, I think, before they got all fancy with themselves.
But actually, it's got nothing to do with it.
It's got nothing to do with it. It's just a circle to draw around. Now, once you've drawn a circle, or you've come across a circle, even if you've got one of the pop-outs to put on your junk journaling cards, you usually need to know how to find the centre. And of course, if you've drawn it with a compass, it's easy because it's where the hole is. If you haven't, and you've come across it in a drawer or whatever, you need to know how to find the centre. And we can do that with a ruler. We've got one of Miss P's quilting rulers there, the one broken that she ran over with a chair a long time ago, couldn't take the weight.
Oi!
The ruler couldn't take the weight, not the chair. The first thing you need to do, if you're going to find the centre, is draw what they call two chords. It's nothing to do with guitars or anything like that. A chord is a straight line from one side of a circle to the other. It doesn't have to pass through the middle, but as long as it reaches from one side to the other, it is a chord. So what we need to do is we need two chords that are parallel. It doesn't matter if one's at the top, one's in the middle, one's at the bottom, but because I've got a nice big ruler, I should just draw around both sides of it and then I know they'll be parallel. You just need two parallel chords in a circle. That's the first step. You see, you thought you'd come for art, hadn't you? Not a physics lesson or a mathematics lesson. But you know, there we go, that's two lines. Then to find the centre, if you go from where that one touches the edge of the circle and that one, you draw from that side to where that one touches, and from that side to where that one touches. And where they cross in the middle will be the exact centre of the circle. So next time you've got a circle and you're wondering where to put your crocodile so that you've put a hole in the centre, you just need a ruler. I mean, you could try it by eye. If you've got two round eyes, Miss P has eyes that are more suited to probably American football or rugby than tennis or golf. So it's usually best to measure things. So anyway, where they cross is the exact centre of that circle. Step one. Then I need a rubber. Have we got a rubber in your magic box?
Yeah, try the other side, the side near a U.
Side near a U?
Near a U.
Near a me? No, I'm rubberless. failed at the first obstacle. I have no rubber.
I had it this morning. Have a look in that under the rotary cutter. It's in there. The black one.
She keeps saying it's in here. And that one.
Not that one's rubbish.
That one's rubbish. Bear with while I find a rubber.
Let me see.
Fallen at the very first hurdle that I'm rubberless.
Ow! It's not sharp, isn't it? There's one there.
There we go, look. Thank you very much, Miss P. So rub those lines out, apart from the centre one, because we've just found the centre. I think that was Miss P pretending to be the claw. You don't really need to know how to do this, but I thought we'd start at the start. It's usually the best place to begin. There we go, we now have the centre. So the next thing we need to do is to draw a line and cross the centre. And divide it in half. Obviously being a circle, it doesn't matter whether we're straight across or at a bit of an angle, like so. Maybe we'll go across like that, just to make it slightly more interesting. There we go. Now the next thing we need to do is divide it into 4, and for that we need our compass. See, all that reading Mr. Green paid off in the end, didn't it? Huh. Now to find the line that is perpendicular to that line, we need a compass, and we need to set it to slightly larger than half the diameter, the radius. We need to be slightly over that, so we'll set it to just about there, which is slightly over halfway. And then if we put it on one end of the cord that we've put in the middle and do a line there, and swing it around and do a line over here, and do the same on that side, and didn't come far enough over there and there. And we'll go back and put the line there and there. There we go. Now we've created 2 crosses, and if we put a line between those 2 crosses, it will be exactly perpendicular to the first line. Mr. Green would be proud of us all. There we go. So for our colour wheel, we actually need to divide it into 12. Which will become, the reason for that will become apparent later. So to further divide that up, if we set the compass to the exact radius, which is from the middle to the side, and then what we do is we pick one point on the end of either of those 2 chords that we've drawn and put a line actually on the edge of the circle and swing it round and do the same on the other side. Then we move round to the next one and do the same again, and do the same again. Move around to the next one, do the same again, same again. Then we come round to this one and do the same again, and the same again. So now we should have an additional 8 lines that cross the circle on the edge. And if we line any of those 2 up via the centre, it should divide it precisely into 12 even pieces. This is the way to settle the arguments when we have cake on the naughty step. As long as we have 12 people, of course. There is ways of dividing it up into other numbers, but I think 12 is a nice party.
Can you tell Jane she's just avoided the naughty step? Only because we love her.
Well done, Jean, for missing the naughty step. It's good to see you. We've missed you. Omer's doing all right. There we go. There's our nice little pie chart. See, pies and cakes and all sorts. Ready for us to start colouring in our colour wheel. Can tidy that up just because I can, not because I need to. There we go. That's the mathematical part over for now. It may return, you never know. So, colour wheel. Starts off with Sir Isaac Newton. Fiona's going to at this point say they don't need to know that. But I'm going to tell you anyway. The first person that made a colour wheel was Sir Isaac Newton. There you go. And he discovered that all the colours could be made up of three, starting with three colours. And for our purposes, being as we're painting, the three colours are a red, a blue, and a yellow. And by mixing those in various proportions, in theory, you can create any colour that you need to. Of course, these days you can buy paint in hundreds of colours pre-mixed, but it's always useful to actually know how to make them from those colours. And if you understand that you're making them from those three colours, you'll be able to avoid the dreaded mud, which is really one of the purposes of this, is to show what you need to do to avoid getting muddy pictures. So we're going to put those three colours, that's primary red, primary blue and primary green, yellow he says, that's a good start, isn't it? Yellow, and we're going to put those at equidistance around our colour wheel. So for that I need a plate and a brush and some paint. See, it's not too difficult so far, is it? You don't need to be an artist. Ooh, nice big blob of red. That may need some more, that may be enough. May not be. And we're going to colour that in. And we're going to call... Let me find a pen. There's a pen. We're going to call this one red. And that's it. You can probably chat amongst yourselves while I call a bit of red in.
Yeah, they're all saying hi to Mike because he's just joined in.
Ah, hi Mike.
Do you want a roll call?
Yes, give us a roll call while I dob some red in.
Okay. Adria.
Hi Adria.
Gonnie.
Hi Gonnie.
Connie.
Hi Connie.
Erin.
Hi Erin. Hi.
Stephanie.
Hi Stephanie.
Kyung.
Hi Kyung.
Terry.
Hi Terry.
Jania.
Hi Janya, or Zigzag as we now call you.
Ros and Jim.
Hi Ros and Jim.
Deborah.
Hi Deborah.
Who's bought cake for the naughty step?
Oh, well done Deborah.
Kerry.
Hi Kerry.
Laura.
Laura.
And a very appropriately named Violet.
Violet, you may pop up later, your name. Hi Violet.
Leslie.
Hi Leslie.
Noella, who's been extremely random today and very entertaining.
Hello random Noella from Australia.
Tamara.
Hi Tamira.
Sharon.
Hi Sharon.
Bernice.
Hi Bernice.
Christy, who's with us for the first time today.
Oh, you picked a right doozy here, Christy.
Michelle.
Hi Michelle.
Judy.
Hi Judy.
And Shaz.
Hi Shaz.
Oh, Dixie.
Oh Dixie. Arr Dixie.
Mike.
Hello Mike.
Melissa, who I don't believe we've seen before.
Hi Melissa.
And I've saved this till last. Jean.
Yay! Queen Jean.
She's back.
Hi Jean. Hi Homer.
So, yep, We've got plenty of people watching you.
Plenty of people. Oh no, no pressure then.
No pressure whatsoever.
Well, this is not really any pressure painting this, really. Daubing in 3 colours at the moment.
But it feels like pressure though, doesn't it?
Oh, it feels incredible pressure. Particularly for somebody that isn't used to the limelight. I'm used to that side of the camera.
Laura's buffering.
Laura's buffering, oh no.
Yeah, and
So-
Deborah says that there are 33 people watching, which is really good for us.
No, that's good. Hi, 33 people.
I don't think they're all joined in live chat, but that's fine.
That's fine.
They don't have to.
That's fine. Anyway, we've got the red down, we're putting the blue down. We don't have to paint to the edges.
And
So,
do these colours have specific names, or do they just say red, blue and yellow?
red, blue and yellow, these ones. These are Sennelier paints. Oop, there we go, Sennelier paints. They're 120 millilitres or 4 fluid ounces. They come in a nice sealed packet that you can just undo the top, squeeze a little out, put it back on, and they'll keep for months and years. And they're relatively inexpensive, so they're and a really good paint. I mean, Sennelier is a proper paint company. It's not some of these fly-by-night jobbies. So I'd recommend those. They're called Abstract. They now do a much bigger range than when we bought these. They do metallics and gessos and other mediums.
But the actual colour, I was asking, is it just called blue?
It's just blue. Well, it's called primary blue.
Yeah, that's the thing, primary.
Primary blue it's called because it is a primary colour.
And it's a primary colour, why? Or are you going to tell us later?
We've got some heckling here from the side, you know. She's saying, are you going to tell them why it's a primary colour? Are you going to tell us later? I did say if people were watching and listening, which obviously they weren't.
Oh, I wasn't, I was chatting.
No, she was chatting, you see. I said all the colour wheels start with 3 colours because all the other colours can be made from those 3.
Ah, okay.
So we have 3 colours that are red, blue and yellow that are called primary colours because they are the main ones, you know.
So any old blue wouldn't do, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying any old blue would not do.
It's got to be a primary blue.
If you want to make a proper colour wheel, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, if you've got obviously different paint brands have slightly different colours and whatever, even if they are all primary blues. But you can make a colour wheel out of a blue, yellow and red
Okay, just
of any
asking.
type, really.
Leslie says, like your shirt, question mark. So I don't know if that means she doesn't like your shirt. Noella says, us lefties have to stick together. You're right, Noella. That'll be you and me then.
Maybe she just wanted me to take it off, like, you know what I mean?
Leslie's much too demure for that. She'd never suggest anything like that.
Chippendale painting.
Chippendale painting, yeah.
There's a primary yellow. You see there's a very bright yellow. It's going on white paper, so it really does stand out. As we know, if you paint yellow on most any other colour, it sort of isn't so vibrant, which is why if you're painting yellow, you need to paint white first and put the yellow on top. It's not a particularly strong colour. So there we go. Look, there's the first part of our colour wheel. Isn't that great? That's the primary colours. Let's put yellow over there in case you don't recognise yellow. Now, after you've got the primary colours, we get what they call secondary colours. And they're called secondary colours because they're made up of 2 different primary colours. So if, for instance, we were to mix red and yellow, you'll probably know from your primary school days, we get an orange. So that's what we need to do next. So I just need to get a bit more yellow and a bit more red, because really as close to 50-50 as you can get is probably a good place to be. It doesn't really matter because this is not a colour wheel that I'll be working from particularly, but just so you can see the colour that it makes, which obviously it should be an orange if we get roughly 50-50. And there we go, can you see that? It's going to mix them together and we're going to get an orangey colour. Now I've not done anywhere near enough there to paint that because it's quite warm in here. But I should scrub that out as much as I can and you will see that it is. I think you can probably see that that's an orangey colour. The next two, so that's, let me write on here, primary red.
Johnny doesn't remember any of this from primary school.
Well, that's probably because red was full of maths and physics and...
That was the primary school.
Oh, primary school. Well, I don't know what they have over there, to be honest.
And Leslie was saying that you've got your primary colours shirt on. That's what she was saying.
Ah!
Nothing worse than that.
Oh, yeah, no, red. Yeah, sort of primary, I suppose. So there we've created orange, which is what they call a secondary colour, because it's made up from two primaries. And next we can mix some red and blue. Bother that. Possibly a bit more because we're a bit parsimonious the first time round. And part of the problem is, of course, it's drying up quite quick because it's still quite warm here. It's probably about 23 outside, which is not excessive as it was, but it's still quite warm for... Oh, it's going to be blue. Yeah, I am using blue, aren't I? Yes, that's right. There we go, so that's blue and red, which should hopefully, if we use enough red.
39 people watching you, they love you. Yay, Mr. F!
Let's see what colour that is. That's not enough red, is it? Let's get a bit more purpley. Oops, dropped my paint. I seem to be not putting enough red in. Let's try and split some up a bit, give it a chance of mixing together. It's more like a purple, I think.
Christy says that
That's more like a purple.
the art teacher recently in night class wouldn't let them bring any of the colours apart from primary and they had to mix their own. It was a good lesson.
It is. It's something that, but the once you know how to do, it comes in very handy. I mean, you can go out and buy hundreds of different colours in tubes, but if you know how to do it yourself, that's coming across as a bit black, but it is purple, honestly. If you know to do it yourself, well then really you can go out on the road with three colours and some white probably. But of course, you know, we're all lazy, so we buy all these secondary colours in tubes and all the other colours that we're going to make later on. So what does that leave? Yellow and blue. Yellow and blue. Blue. And we just need to label that one up as well, don't we? That is, may not be showing up, but it is, well, lilac really is its official title, but we'll call it purple because we can. Secondary purple. See, this is not difficult, is it? Really, if I can do it, well, come on. It lowers the bar somewhat. And not even on the telly there. Telly on the screen. There we go. Yellow and blue. There's a nice green. That's come out as a nice green, hasn't it? Who was expecting that? Come on, hands up. Who was expecting the green?
Leslie's hoping that your pants are blue. And then you'll be the whole thing.
Let me just check. Yep. I did put some on today. There we go. Look, that's grand, isn't it? So then what you need to do is we produce what's called tertiary colours, which is the ones in between the secondaries and the primaries. They're called tertiary because they're made up of three colours. Because you have the primary, which would be, say in this case, the yellow, and then you have the green, which has already got the blue in it as well. So there we go. So for that we need the green and the yellow. So I hope I've got enough green left there, and we'll just put a bit more yellow in it. And that should give us a much lighter green.
Ooh, I like that colour.
It's very leaf greeny, sap greeny, isn't it, that one?
It's gorgeous, I love it. I love green.
Love green indeed. Right, so what have we got there? We've got... Now, colours traditionally are called after the primary colour followed by the secondary colour. So that one in the middle there would be yellow-green. It's just tradition, that's the way that they do it. But a yellow-green, of course, is also, let me just check my notes, is chartreuse.
Yeah, well, as anybody who knows me knows, that's my favourite colour.
So the primary colour always comes first, followed by the secondary colour. So that is a yellow-green, which is also known as chartreuse. Right, so now we need to make some more orange up and some yellow. So in that case we'll just make a little bit of red and twice as much yellow, and then we'll have effectively achieved the same thing. A little bit big blob of yellow as opposed to a little bit of red.
Oh, nice orange. Is it orange or is it some? Oh, it's a fancy colour.
Well, it's
It's fancy, Keung. It's fancy.
It's fancy. I mean, technically, it would be called yellow-orange,
Right.
but the let me have a look at my little notes again. Would be amber.
Oh, amber.
Amber, that would be the colour of that. So let me turn that round, otherwise I'm going to get paint all over my hand. That would be yellow, which is the primary colour, orange, which is the secondary colour, but it's also called amber, and you can probably see why it is that kind of colour, amber. So next we've got orange and red. So a little bit of orange, a little bit of red, and a lot of very yellow. That's right, isn't it? More red than yellow this time.
See your plate, Mr. F. I like to see you mixing.
I know you do. You like to see me messing up.
You're not messing up at all. You're doing a grand job.
Grand job. You have to, excuse me, because I have to keep washing my brush every time.
Doing really well.
And what's this one then going to be? Red orange. What would that be? That needs more red in that. It'll come out very orangey, but it should be more reddy. That's better. That's better. That's better. Like Bob Ross, without the beard and the talent. Yeah.
Oh, you haven't had any happy little accidents yet.
There we go.
Yeah, Sandra wants to know what you're using, watercolour, acrylic or what.
It's acrylic. It's the Sennelier Abstract acrylic. It's made by Sennelier, comes in a little pouch, and it's acrylic, which means it can dry up on me. So that colour there that we've made, you can see the difference I hope, is a red orange, that's right.
So the primary colour comes first and then
Yep,
the secondary colour, that's how you name it.
yep.
Okay, got you.
Primary colour followed by the secondary colour, that's in between red and orange, so it's called a red orange, but it's also called vermilion.
Ooh, vermilion. Deborah's watching you on the TV and on her phone, and she says the colour match on the TV is much better than on the phone.
It's entirely possible. I mean, obviously we've got very bright lights in here, which can change the colour. But you get in the general gist, I believe. So next we need red purple, which means in this case more red than blue will give us the same sort of effect. There we go. So Miss P can see. Doop, 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 doop. Doop, 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 doop. Red and not quite so much blue, because of course if we put 50-50 we'll get back to the purple that we had, so we just really want to sort of have a little bit of blue, not too much. And once we've constructed our colour wheel, of course we can talk about some of its properties and what it can tell us and how we can use it. So where are we going here? There we go. What colour are we going to... This time we're having a red purple, which should be a sort of magenta-y colour. Not sure what magenta is supposed to look like. Probably slightly more red than that, I would say. It's probably... Yeah, it should probably be slightly more red than that, I would say, but for the purposes of moving on, that will do. So that again in our convention will be red purple, but which is red purple is called violet. Hi Violet.
Yay, Violet.
There you go. We'll call you red purple now. And then purple, and we need to add some blue to that. Just take it round to move the next one in. We'll add it to that, and then hopefully we can utilise some of that.
I've just written a really long message to Keomin. It won't let me send it because it's too long.
That's a shame. So what have we got now? We've got blue purple, haven't we? Blue purple, which is violet. No, that's red purple. That should be magenta, not violet. That's where we're going wrong. Ignore me, ignore me. That's magenta, not magenta. This time we're doing violet.
Can I just say, in answer to Keown's question,
Yeah.
Most decent paint companies will sell primary colours, and they'll be called primaries. And you can really make a colour wheel with any blue, red and yellow. But the problem is, if you don't buy the primaries, they've probably already been mixed with something else. So you won't get a true colour wheel. Okay?
Yeah, did everybody catch that? She's saying that most proper paint companies sell primary colours. That's supposed to be a magenta, violet colour. And I think it's probably a little dark, but you know, hey-ho. Most proper paint companies will send primary colours. They do sell them in the pot ready to go, so you can mix your own. That's going to be blue, purple and a violet. Looks nothing like violet, but for the sake of moving on. And the last one is going to be a green blue, which means we need some yellow in some blue. And blue green is teal, is the colour we're aiming for this time. I'm not sure we're going to get anywhere near it, but you know, we never know. We might get lucky. More blue, more blue, more blue. Come on, give me teal, give me teal. Probably do with a bit more blue in it, but paint's drying up quicker than I can mix it.
43 people watching.
43.
It's the most we've had for ages. Well done, Mr. F.
That's not coming out as teal at all, I'm afraid, but you know, you get the gist. If you made your own, you'd get teal, I'm sure. Right, so where are we anyway? We didn't even label this green down the bottom, look. That's green, which is a secondary. And this is a blue green, which supposedly is teal. If you use your imagination on that one. So anyway, that's the way that you carry on. Now obviously you could do this large colour wheel as many sections, or do it as a straight line if you want. It doesn't really matter. And obviously the proportions that you put in, obviously with the orange, if you put more red, you'll move it into sort of vermilion, and if you put more red, it'll get closer and closer to the red, and if you put more of the orange in it, it'll move it away from the vermilion more into the orange shades. So there's infinite number of colours between those, depending on the proportions of the paint that you use. And the only way you're going to do that really is to have a play yourself, I guess. Now, so...
Can you say hi to Lena?
Hi, Lena.
From Denmark.
From Denmark. Hi, from Denmark. I think you're our first visitor from Denmark. Unless somebody knows better. But welcome. Right, so now let's have a quick recap on that. We've got the primary colours, which are red, blue and yellow. Then by mixing two primaries, we get the secondary colours, which are purple and green and orange. And then further subdividing them from using a primary and the next secondary, we get the tertiary colours, which are the yellow, orange, blue, green, etc, etc. Now you can further divide the colour wheel, some artists do, let me get a piece of paper to divide it up nicely, into warm and cool colours. Now it won't come as any surprise probably that that side are known as the warm colours. Your yellows, your reds, your oranges, pretty much the colours of fire, etc. And the cooler colours are your greens and your blues, You know, because we all know that if you paint your room a nice blue colour, it's going to be a cool feeling room. Right, what else can we tell you at this point? Yeah, now apparently warm colours are vivid and energetic, apparently, and the cool colours are more calming and soothing, and the cooler colours tend to push things into the background, and the warmer colours bring things to the foreground. That's the theory. Right, where are we? Now, once we've got our colour wheel, we can further divide it up into what they call complementary colours. Now, complementary colour is a colour that's on the opposite side of the wheel, which is why we do it as a wheel, so you can know which ones they are. So the complementary colour of red is green, the complementary colour of yellow is purple, and the complementary colour of blue is orange. Now, what they mean by complementary is that if you put them together, they don't clash, they really make each other pop. You know, a bit like, you know, Jean and Omar and Kyung and Matthew. You know, they're beautiful colours by themselves, but when you bring them together, they really make things pop. But what I mean by bring them together is to put them side by side. So if we were to do that, let me paint some, get a primary red for instance. No, let's go for the blue, nice blue. Get some paint out, come on, stop messing. We've got a nice blue, which is a nice vibrant blue, and the opposite of that is orange, and I've got some orange, I think. Let me clean that off my brush. Clean my brush. Should have had 50,000 clean brushes, it would have saved having to clean it each time. If you don't get the colour out, it won't look quite right, will it? So I've got some orange. We've got some orange. Trying to mix some orange here and mix them up, which is, as we know, red and yellow. There we go, that's mixing up an orange there, look. And again, that's quite a nice vibranty colour. But if we put the orange next to the blue, it actually makes each of them seem brighter. Maybe not on the camera, but it does. Because they're complementary. So they're nice to each other.
Like in a garden.
Like in a garden, indeed. If you've got flowers and you've got, say, a pansy that's got yellow and purple, they really do stand out. They glow, in fact. And nature loves complementary colours. So a good way of getting the colours to pop on your page is to use complementary colours. Now the downside of this is, yes, they look nice together, but if you mix them, you'll get mud. Now the reason for that, Miss P's on the move, the reason for that is you probably don't need to know, but I'll tell you anyway because I'm here. White light from the sun, from a light source, is white. It makes white, but it contains all the colours of the rainbow in white light. Now some objects, let's say an orange, because it's orange, it absorbs some light and reflects others. So all the colours in our colour wheel, it absorbs all of those colours apart from the orange which it reflects. And that's what we see. We see the orange reflected light from the orange, because an orange isn't orange, it's just that's the colour that it reflects. If you were to shine a purely orange light on an orange, it would appear black, because there's no light to reflect. Now, oh, she gave me clean water. I'm honoured. Thank you. So if you mix the three primaries, see the primary red is reflecting red and absorbing the yellow and blue, which is why all you see is the red. And the yellow is the same. It reflects the yellow, but it absorbs the red and the blue. And blue, likewise, reflects the blue, but absorbs the red and the yellow. So what happens if you mix any of the primary colours together? It absorbs all the light, so you just get a muddy, blacky, brown, muddy mess, because there's no light left to reflect, because whatever portion of the blue is absorbing the red and the yellow, whatever proportion of the yellow is absorbing the red and the blue, so really there's nothing left to reflect. So that's really why you shouldn't mix them, otherwise you're just going to get mud. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. And we can do that actually. I mean, we could get some of our blue if it's still alive. Let's try and spritz it up. Bring it back to life. Put a bit of orange.
Maybe you can just run through that again. I think it's difficult. It's a difficult concept, isn't it, to understand? It is
a difficult concept, I suppose, yes. Miss Pease wants me to run through again. There's the orange. If we then get some blue, if I've got any blue left, and then mix that into it, it just goes some sort of muddy, horrible colour. So that's how you get mud, because certain colours absorb certain colour light and reflect others. And if you mix the complementary colours, this green down the bottom here is made up of yellow and blue. So if you add red to it, you've effectively got red, yellow and blue, which means that it absorbs all the light. There's no colour left to shine out. And likewise, we'll turn this round. If you've got your purple, the complementary of yellow, if you put them next to each other, yellow and purple, as we all know, in pansies, etc., really shines out. But if you mix them together, you're effectively mixing the yellow with the colours that made up the purple, which is the red and the blue. So again, you've got all the three primary colours, the red, the yellow and blue. And if you mix them together, there's no colour left to come out. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So complementary colours make each other pop, but if you mix them, you end up with mud. Excellent. Right, so that's covered complementary colours. Now the next thing is that some artists use what's called analogous colours. Now analogous colours really are just three colours or more that are kind of next to each other. So we could have the yellow orange, the yellow and the yellow green, and they would be analogous because they all contain certain portions of yellow, and they go together very well. You get a very harmonious, balanced picture if you were to use those.
Can you show us the mud of purple and yellow, please?
Mud of purple and yellow. I can show you the mud of purple and yellow if you desire us, of. The plate's getting full. Purple and yellow.
Yep. There's freezer paper behind you that you can use the palette if you want.
screen again there. Look, terrible. Terrible at getting off the screen. Let's use a smaller brush here. We've got the red and the blue there that we're going to mix together, which should give us, if I get any red in there. This red seems particularly a weak colour. Big blob. I don't think we're getting a purple now.
Ooh, yeah, cool.
So there we go. You see, we've got a nice sort of purpley colour, a bit of blue coming through there because I've mixed it particularly well. But there's the purple. Now, as you can see, I made that purple out of the blue and the red. Two of the primary colours used up already. And then we've got a nice bright yellow, which again, if we put by the side of it, will make that purple pop. You see that? That's sort of, I mean, purpley yellowy square popping. But if we were to mix that purple, let's put some yellow on there. Nice bright yellow, and then pick up some of that purple that we've got left and mix it in with that. See, it's all good, some muddy, horrible, it's going to sort of a greeny, browny green, I'd say that is. Sludge, yeah. It's not a particularly pleasant colour, and that's what you hear artists sometimes say, oh, it's gone all muddy, and that's usually because they've mixed some paint wrong, or they've overworked it and they've dragged in other pigments from other parts of the painting. Because of course you have to bear in mind, obviously, that there we sort of mix in the complementary colours, which is sort of instant mud. But if you were to pick, say, yellow and go for red purple, which isn't directly opposite, you would get a slightly different coloured mud because there's more red in that than there is blue. So you're gonna lose the yellow, use the red, but you still might get a little bit of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say that some people want those colours. Oh
yeah, no. Sometimes you want a bit of mud, shall we say? It is a good way of getting a browny colour. But it's something you need to be aware of. If you don't want mud, then avoid complementary colours or ones that are close to the complementary colours. Now, some people, as we said, use analogous colours, which is ones next to each other. A particular exponent of that was Monet with his water lilies. If you look at one of his, there's a lot of purples with other shades of purple within that, and blues. And it is a very calming scene because of that, because they use analogous colours. Other artists that use contrasting colours, Vincent was particularly one of that with his sunflowers. If you ever look at his sunflowers, usually there's a blue sky behind, which of course then makes the yellow pop more. Right. There's other sort of colour schemes that some people use. They use a triad, which is basically 3 colours evenly spaced on the colour wheel. Obviously the primary colours being the main triad, but another triad might be, say, secondary orange, yellow green and purple. There are also colour schemes that work, but you do have to be careful with them. Generally you pick one colour that's the dominant and use the other two just as an accent. There's also what they call a split complementary, which is a very good colour scheme to use because you can't really go wrong. And that's a split complementary is, rather than being evenly spaced, you pick the colour, say your primary red, and you come across and go either side of its complementary. So that would be a split complementary, would be the red, the yellow green and the blue green. They also go very well together, as long as you don't mix them. Right, so what have we got then? What else can I talk about quick? Next is greys. If you want to mix a grey, obviously you could use white and black, but that doesn't give you a very good grey. So there is some natural greys that you can make. I've never made them myself, so this should be interesting. Now, one natural grey is magenta and chartreuse. So chartreuse and magenta. If you mix those two together, I haven't got any left on my palette, so I can't. Luckily for you. If you mix those two together, you'll get a very nice grey. Another one is vermilion and teal, which is the red-orange and the blue-green. If you mix those two together, you get a very pleasing grey. And the last one is amber and violet, which is the yellow-orange and the blue-purple. If you mix those two together, again, you get a very useful grey to use in your paintings. However, if you mix some of the other ones, say, as we already discussed, primary yellow and purple, you'll get mud. Whereas if you go one either side and go magenta and chartreuse, you'll get a nice pleasing grey. So it is useful sometimes to mix opposite colours if you have to, but they're pretty much the only three that are going to be of much use to you at this stage anyway. Right, now what do we need to do now? We need to talk about, I'm going to get another piece of paper. So that's pretty much the colour wheel. If you've got any questions, obviously Miss P's manning the helpline, so I'm sure she'll be more than pleased to help you out.
Yeah, people are very, very interested. And if you want a new palette, use the freezer paper that's behind you.
I shall do, thank you very much. I will need another palette. Let me just get rid of those tools over there, out of the way. Get another piece of... This is Arteza, because it's a relatively inexpensive. It's an acrylic pad. It's obviously specifically designed for using acrylic paints on. It has a certain tooth, which makes it easy to move around. So that's the colour wheel. We're happy with that. That's primaries, secondaries, tertiaries, complementary colours, and some of the colour schemes that you can have, and why you can get mud should you mix complementary colours. And it's all to do with the light that's absorbed and reflected by each individual colour. So
You're all going for coffee.
they're all going for coffee. Excellent idea. I don't want one though, my sweet.
Okay.
Bit of freezer paper. That's a good idea. Let me get a bit of freezer paper that I can use as a palette.
You put that in your pane because it'll just be drying.
Yeah, will do. Keeps on drying on me. It's too warm in here for painting, really. But I hope that's cleared up some of the questions as to why you get mud. Obviously, practice is the way forward. As we know, when you can buy all these different paints in tubes, you really need to break it down into its primary colours, so you know when you mix something with it whether you're going to get mud or not. That's why it's always good to start from basics. You can always tell where somebody's done a painting and just used the paint directly out of the tube and done no mixing at all, and it never quite looks right, because there's many colours that they can put in tubes. You know, they're not what you want. So you need to learn to mix.
Yeah, I think a good thing to do is to take like a picture out of a magazine or a piece of fabric
Yeah, right. She's right. She's right. You know.
that's got lots of colours. Carry on, you've got the mic.
She can't help leaping in. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? When she's doing it, I don't. I never say a word. You know that. I don't. I just don't. That's a lie. It's a lie. Yes, what she was saying there, then a good way to practice mixing your colours is if you get a magazine, find a picture, nice colourful picture, cut it out, stick it in a bit of paper, and then if I've got a picture around anywhere, let me find a picture. Bound to be a picture in somewhere. Here, look, Stitch magazine. There we go. Look, stitching with a wow factor. There we go. Look, say that picture there. One of those nice colourful flowers. If you cut that big, oh look at that, perfect. If you cut that out, stick it down, and then when you come to fussy cut it is the best way. And then when you come to it, you can sort of draw lines radiating out from it around certain parts, and then you, in this area here, try and mix that colour. Try and match it, and around that area there's some blue there, look. Draw some lines out from the blue and try and match it, and look at it and see, it's a bit more blue, it's a bit more red, it's a bit more whatever. And it's a good way of practicing your mixing. It's just to get a picture out of a magazine, any picture, that one, this one, any of them, and try and match the colour. And it really will get you used to mixing colours. And looking, really, that's the secret, because looking at something is not the same as seeing something. That's what they tell you at art school anyway. It's to look at it. You've got to look at it, they keep saying. If you watch any of the art programs, they keep saying, look, just look at it. Like that's supposed to help. But it is surprising that when you actually look, what you can see.
Laura wants to know, is that why they have purple hair products for silver hair? I don't think so. I don't think it is, Laura. But I think it's just ladies of a certain age used to like purple hair.
I think so. Purple hair for silver hair, yeah. But certainly colour theory, if you go to the for a manicure and have your nails done or your hair done, then colour theory, it matters in all these things. It's not just for artists. Right, so where are we right now? The next thing we need to think about with our colours is there's different words to describe different types of colour, shall we say. We have let me get the pen. Pen. We have the, am I off there? The hue, which is the colour itself. I'm not sure whether you can you see that on this camera?
Yeah.
Excellent. And the hue is just the colour, like we had before. Our colours are red, greens, as primary reds, as yellows, as greens, etc. That is a hue. That is primary yellow, that's its hue. If we wanted to make that slightly lighter, then what you then need to do is introduce white to the mix, which is what we shall do. When you add white to something, it's called a tint. So our colour, let's find a colour that we can use this on. Here's one, look, that's a nice look, purple, pre-mixed purple. There we shall go. And we'll actually, I've just spotted some more plates down there. That'll do as a palette. Ooh. Been shut a while, that one. Here's some pre-mixed purple that I could have used on my colour wheel, but that would have been cheating, wouldn't it, really, to be fair.
Well, I was sort of explaining to them that pre-mixed colours that you buy, although that one says purple, it might not have equal measurements of red and blue in it. So when you start to mix it with other colours, you might get unexpected results.
Yeah. Stop again. Stop again. Can you hear her? Stop again. No, she is right. Even though that is described as purple, and it's in the same manufacturer as those, it's described as purple, but it wouldn't be the same as the secondary colour that you would get by mixing exactly 50% red and 50% blue. They may have different ratios in there. They may even have some other colours hidden behind it to achieve that purple. So sometimes you don't get exactly the colour you're expecting unless you mix your own from the primary colours. So anyway, there we go. That's the purple. It's the purple hue. There we go. That's a nice strong purple, isn't it? Excellent. Now, if we add white to something, it's called its tint. It's been tinted. Plus white. So we'll get some white out. Bit of a blurb. Now obviously you could subdivide this purple as many times as you want, really. It's kind of almost infinite, but we'll do it in some sort of graduated fashion. We'll get a little bit of white and add some of that purple. And then you see that hopefully it'll show up on the thing, but that's a softer. And then if we were to add more white, we'd be lighter again. And if we add more white, we get lighter again. There we go. So that's called a tint. Once you add white to it, it's called a tint. So if you actually own a set of paints, whether it's acrylics or whatever it is, you can make yourself an own little colour chart. Add certain values of the white paint to the colour, the hue, and then you'll see what it looks like when it's at, say, 75%, 50%, 10%, 5%, 1%, and it'll give you a good idea of what the colours you can achieve by adding white to your original colour. Let's clean that off. Now, the opposite of that, of course, is if we were to introduce some black. And again, exactly the same. You can start with a don't need too much black. We'll mix that purple up. So, and we'll start with a, shall we say, the main hue again over here. That's the starting point. And this time we just add a little bit of black. I can bring some of that down to here. It's quite a dark colour to start with, so it's probably not the best of colours to have chosen, but we'll add a little bit of black. do that, and then you see that it gets a much darker purple. I mean, it's actually looking black on the screen, but it is quite just a very dark purple. And we can add even more black until we actually pretty much approach black. Now when we add black, it's called a shade. So these ones are shades of purple, and these ones are tints of purple. So just starting with this one base colour, by adding white we can get, obviously making it lighter, or we can add black, which makes it darker and it becomes a shade. The way to remember that, of course, it's in the dark, it's in the shade. Now the third way, which gives you a different result, is to add black and white, or what's commonly known as grey. And that will give us a totally different result again. If we start, I'm running out of that purple, but there's plenty more in the tin, I suppose, if I need it. I might need to get a bit more out. Where did my purple go?
Charles never realised that you had so much depth of knowledge on colour. Wow. So he's listened to everything I've ever said.
It's true. It's true, honestly. Honestly, no. There we go, that's our base hue again. It's still coming across as purple, should be coming across as purple. And what we're going to do this time is, rather than add black and get a shade, or add white and get a tint, we're going to add black and white or grey. So we've got a little bit of black, quite a bit of white, and you can see we're getting a nice grey colour there. Now should we add some of that grey to that purple, you'll see that we get a very different result than when we added the black or the white. You see that? As you can see that difference between that and that and that.
Nice.
Shades, tints, tones. So pretty much if you have the primary colours and black and white, you can pretty much create, dip my fingers in the washing up bowl because I'm getting a bit painty. You can pretty much create any colours that you like. So that's shades, which is plus black, that's tints, which is plus white, and that's tones, which is plus black and white, or effectively grey. So, oh, it's 5:15 already. Time fly when you're having fun. So now you're thinking, oh, I'll never remember all this. Then what you can do, mucky fingers, is get rid of your palettes, get rid of your mucky brushes, get rid of your tints and tones in your colour wheel, though they don't go far because they're still there, because we'll have a recap. what you can do is go out and buy yourself, we've got all that trouble, and you can go out and buy a colour wheel. That's nice of them, isn't it? Colour wheel. There we go, look. And it's got exactly the same information on as ours, except it's neater. So it's got the red, the blue and the yellow, and the complementary of red, as we already know, is green. Complementary of blue is orange. Complementary of yellow is, well, they've got violet but purple, and then the tertiary colours in between: the blue green, the blue violet, the red violet, the red orange, and the yellow orange. So that's basically the colour wheel that we created, but in a nice handy form for you to remember. Now, the other beauty of this is it includes, as you can see around there, is the shades of grey, the values of grey, starting at 0 for white, and I presume 100% black is over there. Oh yeah, value 10 is white and the value 1 is black, and then there's different values of the grey shades around there to remind you what sort of grey that you're looking for, which comes in handy when you're comparing it to, say, one of our charts. You can use that scale to put next to the colour, and as you can see, that's quite dark, so it's probably, I would say, that one there, so it's a grey value of 2 I would put on that one. And likewise, if you come over here and look at the white one, you'd say that it's got a very similar value as, say, that one there, which is a number 6, value 6. So you can work out the ratio of white or black that you've put in by comparing its tone. The other thing that the colour wheel will give you is, let's move around here. You can see, let's start on a primary colour. That makes life easier, isn't it? There we go. Let's start on the yellow. On these subdivisions here, that one says adding red. And if you add the red to the yellow, it gives you the orange in the little window. The next window round says add in yellow. Now obviously, yellow to yellow, give you yellow. The next one round is add in blue. Spin that round. You'll now see that if you add the yellow to the blue, you're going to get that green. Next one round is add in white. It'll give you that colour. And the next one round is add in black, which will give you that olivey colour there. So it tells you if you add those colours to yellow, those are the colours that you'll get in the window. And of course it works for any of the ones. If you go to the blue, if you add red, you're going to get the purple. Blue, add in yellow gives you the green. Blue to blue is blue. Blue and white gives you a nice lilac-y colour. And black to the blue gives you a very dark blue. See, that's a handy thing, isn't it? It also reminds us on here that the primary colours, red, yellow and blue, are the basic colours and cannot be made by mixing other colours. The secondary colours, orange, green and violet, are made by mixing 2 primary colours. And the tertiary colours are the 6 intermediary colours made by mixing 1 primary colour and an adjacent secondary colour. Exactly what we did. It says that there's warm colours. And it's very small right in there. Starts with the yellow. It's got warm colours coming round this way. Your reds, oranges and yellows. And cool colours coming around this way. Your greens, your blues and your violets. And it also tells us that the warm colours advance, as in come out the page. And the cool colours recede, as in they go into the page. So there we go. It also tells us that a tint is a colour plus white, a tone is a colour plus grey, and a shade is a colour plus black.
A lot of information.
It's a lot of information on a little thing. It's almost the artist's version of a periodic table. That's my opinion. So if we turn that over as well, there's another side. And this is giving us, again, the same colour wheel around the outside. Only this time it's showing us what happens when we have a tint, a tone and a shade of the colours. So if we took that green, if we added, that's the pure colour, the green. If we tinted it with white, we'd get that colour. If we add white and black or grey, we'd get that middle tone. And if we add black, we'd get the shade. And that works for all the ones round again. Move it round. The blue, that's if we add white, that's if we add grey, and that's if we add black. So it reminds us which way to go to mix our colours to achieve the one that we want. It's also got some other information on there about the triads, the split complementaries, etc. that I mentioned earlier. So that's a very useful thing. They're relatively inexpensive. It's always worth having one to hand just to remind you which colours to mix to get a certain colour. Like if we wanted that nice tealy colour, we'd get the green and add the blue and we'd get that nice tealy colour in the window there. If we wanted a nice pink, we'd add white to the red. If we wanted a nice olive green, we'd take the yellow and add some black and we'd get that nice
That is a lovely olive green. Huh?
olive green. So it's a really good way of getting a green by adding black to yellow. You wouldn't think that you would get such a nice olive green, but it does. If you add black to yellow, that's the colour you will get. Excuse me, time for a drink. Miss P's left the room, as probably most of you have by now, I would imagine. So if there's any questions, of course you can pop onto the Miss Paintlot's Junk Journal and Mini Album group and ask them there. I realise this has been a sort of more of a arty side adventure than as normal junk journaling, but it is important that if you're hand colouring your own images or painting images for your thing, or even just selecting papers, if you're wondering which papers go together to make it pop or to make it tone down, you need to take into account the colour wheel, because it works in all instances. It's a universal colour wheel. Mrs. P's back. I shall wait till she's waving. Is there any questions on the hotline, Miss P?
Just give me a minute. Lorna says not just useful for painting, but for matching fabrics or quilts and such, or papers for journals.
Absolutely. Anything that involves colour, really, the colour wheel, gives you the answers if you know how to interpret it.
Judy says you're not telling her anything new. Bob Ross taught her how to mix. She didn't say that first bit. How to mix black and yellow to make green.
It's true. It is. Try it. If you've got some yellow paint and you pop a little bit of black in.
Do it yourself. You'll see it's absolutely gorgeous green.
It is. In fact, I should do it now because I can. Because I'm allowed to. Because I have your undivided attention. And you can't go until I say you can. No, that's not
well,
true.
They're going.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
No, just show them that olive green because it's beautiful. Really is.
Let's put a loop of green. There we go. You'd certainly wouldn't think that a shade. Oh, there's already some black on there. A shade of yellow, as in a yellow with black added, would be a beautiful olive green, but it is. Teeniest bit of black. There we go. There's the teeniest bit. Look, it's barely coming off the brush. And we'll mix that in and we'll see where we're at. There we go. Look, round and round and round and round and round. Ooh, maybe just the teeniest more black. Teeniest more. There we go. And we can see that. That's a nice olive green.
It's just so perfect for spring leaves and stuff.
I know, for foliage. Look, there's my garden already, look. painting myself a garden. Hey,
Oh, it's perfect, isn't it?
I know. Hey, Vincent, eat your heart out. It is a really lovely olivey green, which you wouldn't really think was a shade of yellow. With black, just purely black. That's it. So there we go. I don't think there's anything more I can impart today without getting too technical, which I've been told I must avoid at all costs. I'm not sure who told me that. Let me guess. So, yep, there we go. That's it. So, as a quick recap, we now know what the primary colours are. We know what the secondary colours are. We know what the tertiary colours are. We know why they make each other pop, because if you use the red and the green, they're reflecting different colours. They're not stealing from each other. If you mix them together, you just get mud, because they're all absorbing all the colours of the spectrum and there's nothing left to come back, so you just get mud. Mud, glorious mud. And then we've learnt that to get different colours, we can have tints, which is adding white to it, we can have shades, which is adding black to it, or we can have a tone, which is adding black and white, in brackets grey, to it. And we get all of those, plus a myriad of other colours, just by adding black, white in combinations. And there we go. I can tell you no more. I can tell you nothing at all that I can think of. Well, there is several things I can think of, but I'm not going to tell you.
He's not allowed.
Because I get told off.
Yes.
Because I'll get too physical.
Physical? Surely not.
Physical or mathematical?
I'll go for the mathematical over the physical, I think.
Probably. Right, well, it's been a pleasure. It's been a while since I've been on, so you'll have to excuse the
Ring rust.
rusty ring. No, ring rust. And I shall see you again soon, so I don't lose touch with talking, because I don't do a lot of that. It's overrated, talking. But Miss P will continue with roller prompt. She's already done the one today, which has drawn the things for tomorrow, and she'll do a video tomorrow of that, and then do another one ad infinitum, and keep rolling the dice. So you take care out there. It's been a pleasure. Be safe, be happy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye everyone, thank you. Bye.